Okay, now we've got a plan. Now we've got 5-year objectives. Now we got 1-year objectives. I've got a vision and a dream. Henry, you've encouraged me. God wants me to achieve my potential. But here I stand with things standing right in my way. There's some insurmountable problems that I've got to overcome. I'm a single parent. I've got youngsters that I've got to raise. When I get home at night, I'm just absolutely exhausted. It's about all I can do to get by, let alone have a vision or a dream. Other kinds of cases, there's all kinds of things that could be going wrong. I dropped out of school right toward just before graduation. I lost my credits. We transferred. Now I've got to take my whole senior year over. I've taken that CPA exam a half-dozen times, and I cannot pass the final part. I'm discouraged. How do I overcome these obstacles? The civil service exam, the one that's going to get me that really good governmental job, I'm continually scoring right under the margin. How do I remove the obstacles that are right in front of me? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, if that vision and dream is strong enough, if that desire to succeed is strong enough, that's going to be the key factor that's going to get us over that obstacle. As in previous programs, I shared with you about being in bed at night as a youngster, dreaming about becoming an athlete, wanting to achieve, trying to visualize myself being successful at Collinsville High School, where I grew up, the high school that I went to. But when I was in the 6th or 7th grade, I was tall and thin and lanky, and I just didn't have enough beef on my bones. It looked like I could play, but I just wasn't big enough to compete. But that dream of finally being out there, finally playing, was so strong that I, in effect, just came back and I said, I'm going to overcome all these obstacles. Whatever it takes for me to play, I'm going to do it. And that's the beauty of athletics. Now, in different people are different things in your life that will create the vehicle to help you learn to succeed. In my case, it was athletics. Other people are going to be interested in different things. It's going to be music or painting or drama or cheerleading or something that you've got to overcome. But the dream, the visualization of you succeeding is what's going to give you the motivation to overcome some of these obstacles. Now, what we want to do is go back to our outline, and we want to clearly remember those targets. We've set our goals. Now we want to start making some things happen. So again, you're going to need your strategic planning outline, or you need a pencil and paper, and let's go to work on some things. We want to get these things down on paper, and here's the first thing that I want you to do today. Write down on a sheet of paper some of the things that you've got to do this month or in the next few months to get you started. In other words, 5th year, vision and dream, that's way out there. Your 1-year objective. Now we're saying, what action have you got to take almost tomorrow? What have you got to do tomorrow to make yourself move? Now, I know how many of you are doing out there because I've been down this road myself. I graduated with a degree in production management from Oklahoma State University. I got a good job in Chicago working for Continental Can. All of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I was making, in those days, what I thought was a real good salary. I saved some money, bought my first car, and you know, I thought I had it made. My goodness, is there life after your first job, your first paycheck, and your first car? But what I did is I began procrastinating, and many of you are doing the same thing. You're procrastinating. I could see that I was entering a very competitive business world. Our training program in the company that year, there were 200 new people in the company, and I looked around me and I could see that they were from all the great schools in America, and I could see, well, my goodness, I'm competing for other jobs with all these other people. But again, I had that tendency just right there. I worked hard on the job, worked hard in the training program, but I really wasn't doing anything extra. the nagging thought, I better start a graduate program, started working on me. But you know, I could never take that first step. A few months would go by, one semester or another semester, I couldn't take that first step. And finally, one morning out on Lakeshore Drive, it was a Sunday morning before church, I was just walking out there watching the waves coming in, and I realized if I don't make a move, I'll never get that graduate business degree that I know I need. I know I need that degree to compete in business. Well, that's what I'm trying to talk about today. You've got to take the first step. I finally took the first step and enrolled in the University of Chicago's Graduate School of Business. And you know what happened? As soon as I started going to that Graduate School of Business, as soon as I started interacting with other high potential people in that very fine program, I began to get energized. Instead of something that, oh no, there's a night a week, or oh no, not more school, all of a sudden I started getting excited about my graduate education. I was making new friends. I was expanding my horizons. You know, a lot of times we just literally get into a trap, same people, same places. Many times we're even eating the same food. We're just not breaking out of the mold. And that's the key point when you're listing this, and I hope you're thinking of things that you've got to do. You've got to list some things that you've got to do. In my case, it was just literally go down, apply, and enroll. You've got to get off a dead center, friend, or you're not going to get anywhere. And this is an example of what we're talking about. I want you to list right now the things that you've got to do to actualize your plan and get your plan moving. Okay, now, as soon as you get those things down, now you've got to come back and looking at our outline, now you've got to say, and I've just picked the number 5, it could be 10, it could be 3 or whatever, but what are the things that are holding you back? What are the things that are keeping you from making a move? Okay, in my particular case, using this particular example, I was doing shift work with Continental Can in those days. Sometimes I'd be on the first shift, sometimes the second shift, sometimes the third shift. So it was convenient to use the fact that I'd have a stretch on the second shift as an excuse. Well, I can't attend classes, so there's a problem. Well, that was something that was holding me back. But you know, you can go, if you get these things down on paper, you can find a way. There's always a way to do something if you'll do it. I worked out an arrangement to attend other classes, do extra work. I worked out a way to be able to stay in my job, yet take the shift work, do as I had to do, and still be able to go to class and get started on that graduate degree. Now you say, well, what are things that are on that list? And again, as you think of them, as I talk and give you suggestions, I want you to aim at 5. What are 5 things holding you back? Let's go back in the early going. I talked about the one-parent family, and there are many one-parent families out there today. Many of you are in that situation. You've got a full-time job. The kids are home from school at night. How in the world can you get out for extra training? Well, that's something that's holding you back. Let me tell you something that really inspired me this last year. A bank teller in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with 5 children, with a husband, midway through her career, got involved in our Certificate of Merit and Management program. This is a program where people can work on a non-credit degree, but it is a degree and it is training. She took that initial step and came out, and she thought it had never worked. She confided in me later, there's just no way that I can get away from my kids. There's too many things they need to do. I've got to fix my meals. I cannot get away one night a week. But you know, she started coming. She found a way to get those meals fixed in advance. She worked out a compromise with her husband that they could watch the children. And you know what she told me later is that her children became more self-reliant. There were a lot of things that she was doing for them that she just sensed, I've got to do these things for my kids, or I'm not a mother. But you know, they got together as a family and said, here's something that Mother wants to do. And she finished that program a year later, and I can still remember her face as she came across the stage. And she completed that degree. Something was holding her back, but she attacked it, she worked on it, and she finished it. If you're that single parent today, there's a Bible study program, there's a Bible school, you might drop your youngsters off for that, there's daycare centers, there's any number of things that, that you can do to overcome those obstacles. Now, in our last session, I asked you to list 5 specific obstacles. I hope you had time to think about it, and you've listed some of those things that are holding you back, things that are keeping you from starting right now, things that are holding you back, keeping you from achieving your potential. Now, what we want to do today is we want to start looking for solutions. Now, we're going to peck away at each of these obstacles, and I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what it's going to take to get each one of them out of the way. But I believe this. It's a principle that, that I've thought about a lot, and it's the one I call hitting the nail. Have you ever tried to drive a nail into a piece of real hard oak? You know, it just won't hardly go. But what you do is you just keep hitting, you keep tapping. You can't hit it too hard or you'll bend the nail. If we take a shot at these obstacles, and we'll just keep pecking away, keep moving them, faithfully stay right after them, we're going to overcome these obstacles. I'm not sure that you just completely knock all obstacles away with just one big giant swoop. I don't think we're looking for a knockout punch. Now, there's a few of them, and we'd like to knock them all out. We'd like to just say a prayer and say, Lord, get those out of the way and let's do it. But some of them are going to take patience. Some of them, like that example I used the last time, there's a lot of you out there suffering because you got 1 or 2 more parts of that CPA exam that you just have to pass. It's been years since you've been out of school. It's that last little margin of getting over the hump. Well, there's where I think your hitting the nail theory is going to help you the most. You've got to keep pecking away. You've got to study a little bit every day. You know, if you ever give up and go a few days, it's going to be so hard. It's so easy to give up when you're just about over the hump. Keep hitting the nail. Be determined. Every day when I get up, I'm going to study, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to think about passing that CPA exam. Now, what I'd like for you to do is take your outline now and start thinking about just something you can do tomorrow against each of those obstacles. Again, pray to the Lord that He knocks each one of them out, that He helps you remove them in one giant stroke. But be prepared to just keep hitting the nail a stroke at a time. What I'd like to see you to do, what I'm encouraging you to do, is just list something you can do tomorrow to help you remove each of those obstacles. And you know what will happen? An inch a day is going to end up being a foot. A foot a day is going to turn into a yard. A yard's going to turn into 10 yards, 50 yards. That's the way you gain something. You can whip anything if you'll have the patience to take it an inch at a time. Take those obstacles and just